Well, good afternoon, and welcome to a postponed version of the Wednesday morning poetry show here on Enlighten Radio. And just as a reminder, for those of you who are tuned in now but tend to forget, I don't know, it's a select group, um, you can always hear our live broadcast on player.enlightenradio.org. And that normally takes place at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, but today it's not. And we're interrupting our afternoon programming of blues music, blues and roots from Australia, to record this podcast. And our podcasts are available at podcasts.enlightenradio.org. They're also available at democracyroad.podbean.com. Anyway, Janet Harrison, my good friend and host of this program, has compiled some poetry on a theme of the word blue. And of course, there's a lot of places you can go with that. And she's going to take us some. So, Janet, tell us about blue or
I had this
ba.
idea of doing poems about colors. I found a few poems I liked about blue, but then I got stuck, and so I expanded it to blue things, and then it worked. So we start out with this poem called Habitual Blues, and I've been trying to find out something about the poet, but I haven't. It's Vincent H. Anastasi.
Right.
He's got a blog called The Deepening Ground. And this is his May 6th of May 2021 entry on his blog, and it's got his poem Habitual Blues, but I haven't been able to find out much about him.
All right.
Um, but this is Vincent H. Anastasi, Habitual Blues, and this is a good thing to open with you because it's got this great opening line. So listen for
Okay.
the line. Habitual Blues. I fight with you, blue, much more than any other. I'm black and bluesed, true, when sorrow works me over. That's what I choose. Snooze, I slumber neath the covers, till morning's blue news, the struggle rediscovered. I sing the tune blues, though silence is my cover, and paint subdued hues, my face the canvas colored. Moreover, my muse stews on thoughts that have me smothered, till hope to blue blues, and weak solace with bleak brothers. Yet, sunset sunset summer cues foretell a promised dawning, and through night's gloom ensues, there's joy comes in the morning, when deepest blues imbue the skies with light returning, and welkin wonders strew my soul with blissful burning.
Oh, I love the musicality of that poem. It's just great, you know.
Yes, he handles the rhymes very successfully.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
there, but they're not forced.
No, I know they're just like water flowing over a bubbling brook, you know. That's right. Yes, I know. So some of them were really well. He barely skips a beat, really. You know. I sing the tune blues, though silence is my cover, and paint subdued hues my face the canvas colored. Morose, my muse stews on thoughts that have me smothered, till hope to blue bruise seeks solace with bleak brothers. Anyway, it's pretty good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, I mean, it shows you how resonant the theme of color can be. I mean, blue immediately takes you to the blues, obviously, and
Mhm.
things like that. So, which is a whole universe. I found out the best internet radio stations on the planet are actually blues stations, is in my view. Okay. And the most universal because there's barely a country that does not have a number of blues and roots music, which is really root music of a lot of different cultures put into the three or four chords that you get with, the blues. It's just very interesting. So anyway, yeah, let's go on to, are we going to stay with the theme of blue though, right?
Yes,
We're
we
not,
are.
yeah,
We're thinking
okay.
blue today.
All right, go. What's next, pal?
Fragmentary Blues by Robert Frost. I don't know if any of these stuck you. If you want to read any of these, just let me know.
Let me see if I got what's it, which one is that? That's the
Fragmentary Blues by Robert Frost.
I got a couple of them. The Great Blue Heron have masks. Uh, okay, hold on. Hold on.
This would have been the first one I sent you.
Oh, okay. Well then,
We have them in order.
okay. Oh, okay. There we go. Let's see. I got. Oh, you're right. There it is. Look at that. Right. It was the first one you sent me, and I missed it there. Okay. Let's see if I got.
Well, anyhow, I'll start reading it.
Go ahead.
This is
Yeah.
by Robert Frost. So we're going from a poet I didn't know to a poet that was one of the most famous American poets ever. Um, a real rock star of American poetry. Fragmentary Blue. Why make so much of a fragmentary blue in here and there a bud, a bird or a butterfly, a flower or a wearing stone or open eye, when heaven presents in sheets of the solid hue? Since earth is earth, perhaps, not heaven, as yet. And though some savants make earth include the sky, and blue so far above us comes so high, it only gives our wish a wet, for blue a wet, excuse me. And blue so far above us comes so high, it only gives our wish for blue a wet. So again, he's very clever here. He's saying like, why do we make so much of all the blue we see here in a bird or a butterfly or a flower or a wearing stone or an open eye, when heaven is, like all blue, except it's not today. It's all gray.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Then he goes on, with that turn, since earth is earth, perhaps, not heaven as yet.
That's a clever line. Yes. Right.
Yes.
Yes. That's right. Yes.
And it sets up for that line, that last line, it only gives our wish for blue a wet. So the rhymes are very clever throughout this.
It is. It's kind of occasionally he makes, you might call them, I'm not sure they're actually political jokes, but they're kind of, they're a social joke. Um, earth is earth and earth perhaps not heaven as yet.
Hmm.
All right. I mean, the perfection of, earthly life is, a progressive idea mostly. Anyway, it's interesting. Yeah, it's very nice. I don't remember this particular poem. I thought I had read everything by Frost at one point, but maybe I just spent a long time ago. I'm not sure. But I like it. Although I think that one line, since earth is earth, perhaps not heaven as yet, uh, I, that rings a bell. So maybe I have heard it, but go ahead. Yeah.
So next we're going to Emily Dickinson, another rock star of American poetry, and with her a slash of blue. And this is a poem it's a very short poem, but it very effectively uses not only blue, but all kinds of other colors. I'm thinking about both sunset and sunrise. So do you have this one, John?
Yeah, I can read this one if you want me to. Sure. A Slash of Blue by Emily Dickinson. A slash of blue, a sweep of gray, some scarlet patches on the way. Compose an evening sky, a little purple slipped between some ruby trousers hurried on, a wave of gold, a bank of day. This just makes out the morning sky.
Bring one out.
Wow, pretty cool.
I thought that was a lovely little poem.
Yeah. Right.
and all the different colors. And the idea of Dawn as ruby trousers hurried on. I thought
Right.
it was very only Emily could come up with an image like that.
I, maybe, yeah. I mean, it's very striking, right? You know, that because it's like you're putting on a dress of some sort, right? Or some sort of, and you're greeting the day, right? At the same time, it's done very nicely. Um, now, and again, she always makes you wonder at her capitalization
Yes.
habits, which, it's kind of like, you've added an underscore,
Hmm.
to your words, and then it makes the reader say, well, why is that capital? And you probably me in my case, I started searching for some abstraction, a wave of gold, right? I mean, rather than something earthly. I don't know what other people probably do something very different, but anyway, maybe just that's just the fact that it takes you on a trip, to read some of these lines and hold them in the light, so to speak.
Yes, and her punctuation is also eccentric. So her poems are
Right.
certainly different. You can recognize an Emily Dickinson poem
Right. I
without her
mean,
name attached to it.
if you were walking along a trail and saw what looked like a periodic, set of sticks individually laid across the road at what seemed like a reasonably close interval, you might attach great significance to it,
Hmm.
or you might miss it completely. But here it's there, right for you to see, the stick in the road. Let's do it. Okay, that had a lot of colors in it, but yes, it's essentially the slash of blue is where it goes from there to a bank of day.
Hmm.
All right. Okay. Well, what's next, pal?
Mystic Blue by D.H. Lawrence. Now, D.H. Lawrence was actually most known for his somewhat scandalous novels, Ladies Chatterley's Lovers, Sons and Lovers,
Right.
Rainbow
Yeah.
Bent.
Right.
Um, but he actually was quite a fine poet, which many people don't know. And this is a poem called The Mystic Blue.
Right.
And it takes us to a different place with blue. We're getting to a little bit more somber mood,
Mm,
this poem.
right.
And the poem
Go.
has a lot about interplay of light and darkness in it. So just listen for that as we go through this poem. And I'll read it slowly because it's dense. It's not it's not one that you just trip over like the Emily poem, and understand. This is a little bit denser, so I'll try and read it slower.
Okay.
The Mystic Blue. Out of the darkness, fretted sometimes in sleeping. Jets of sparks and fountains of blue come leaping to sight, revealing a secret, numberless secrets keeping. Sometimes the darkness, trapped within a wheel, runs into speed like a dream. The blue of the steel showing the rocking darkness now a real. And out of the invisible, streams of bright blue drops rain from the showery heavens, and bright blue crops surge from under dark to their ladder tops. And all the manifold blue and joyous eyes, the rainbow arching over in the skies, new sparks of wonder, opening in surprise. All these pure things come foam and spray of the sea, of darkness abundant, which shaken mysteriously breaks into dazzle of living, as dolphins that leap from the sea of midnight shake it to fire, so the secret of death we see.
Oh boy.
What a close.
Yeah. Oh my
Last
goodness. Yeah.
quatrain. It's written in triplets that rhyme, and then but the last ends in a quatrain, a four-line stanza. All these pure things come foam and spray of the sea, of darkness abundant, which shaken mysteriously breaks into dazzle of living, as dolphins that leap from the sea of midnight shake it to fire, so the secret of death we see.
Yeah, boy, yeah.
So I thought that was,
I've never seen that one either. That's interesting. I used to remember D.H. Lawrence. Yeah, he is a beautiful poet, but this is, I don't remember this. This is wonderful.
yes, I thought it was beautiful.
Sometimes the darkness, trapped within a wheel, runs into speed like a dream. The blue of the steel showing the rocking darkness now a real.
Yes, I just really admire what he does with rhyme in this poem and with rhythm.
Steel a real. Drops, crops, ladder tops.
Hmm.
Eyes, skies, and surprise. See mysteriously. See. Okay. Oh, there you go. That's it. There's an interesting thing you did right there too. Mhm. Yes, it adds to the musicality again. I like, that there's an aspect of poetry that keeps its musicality. Not always by just rhyme, okay? I mean, probably more often than not. But sometimes just, the way that even without rhyme, a poem can have a such a rhythm, right? And an assonance or other tricks with the sounds of the words that it can accomplish the same thing, right? But it's a treat when someone does it really well, isn't it? It's
Yes.
not, it's very nice. So, all right, well, what's next, Val? I
We're
got
going
DH
to Great
Lawrence.
Blue Herons.
Oh, you have a couple of. I was a little bit confused about which one was which. We have
We'll start with the Carolyn Kaiser, which is the first one I sent you.
okay, well, yeah, I see that one. Right. Okay. Right. Yeah, I read this one. Right. This is
This is in
interesting.
memory of her mother,
Oh,
um,
really?
but that's not clear until the end of the
Oh,
poem.
no, you're right. I see. Yes. Right.
Um,
Well, you want me to read this one?
yes, if you would.
Okay. So the Great Blue Heron, and this is interesting because just as a little preface to this, our family for years had a place on Lake Apacon, New Jersey, where there was a right on the shores of Lake Apacon, and one of the little coves off which Carol's family's home or summer home was located was a great blue heron would just sit there perfectly still for a good part of the day. And so it made a very haunting impression. You always felt a little bit prayerful around it. Like maybe if there had been more little kids around, they would have thrown rocks at it. But I always felt like, my gosh, you should stop and just tiptoe, very quietly around it so that you wouldn't um, change or disturb the stillness. Anyways, I like poems about herons. Anyway, this one is called The Great Blue Heron and by Carolyn Kaiser. It has a epigram or called MAK, September 1880, September 1955. Is this about her mother?
I think that's her mother.
Right. Okay. So, as I wandered on the beach, I saw the heron standing, sunk in the tattered wings he wore as a hunchback's coat, shadow without a shadow, hung on invisible wires from atop of a canvas day. What scissors cut him out, superimposed on a poster of summer by the stand of a long decayed resort, poised in the dusty light some 15 summers ago. I wondered, an empty child. Heron, whose ghost are you? I stood on the beach alone in the summer chill of the burned. My thought raced up the path. Pursuing it, I ran to my mother in the house and led her to the scene. The spectral bird was gone, but her quick eye saw him drifting over the highest pines on vast, unmoving wings. Could they be those ashen things, so grounded, unwieldy, ragged, a pair of broken arms that were not made for flight? In the middle of my loss, I realized she knew. My mother knew what he was. Oh, great blue heron. Now the summer house is burned. So many rockets ago. So many smokes and fires and beach lights and water glow, reflecting pinwheel and glare. The old logs hauled away, the pines and driftwood cleared from the bare strip of shore where dozens of children play. Now there is only you, heavy upon my eye. Why have you followed me here, heavy and far away? You have stood there patiently for 15 summers and snows, denser than my repose, bleaker than any dream, waiting upon the day when, like gray smoke, a vapor floating into the sky, a handful of paper ashes, my mother would drift away.
I thought that was such a beautiful poem. The
Oh my
language
God. It's almost,
describes
yeah,
the
right.
parents. Yes.
Oh, it's just touching. Yes,
And then it builds up to that climax, waiting upon the day when, like gray smoke, a vapor floating into the sky, a handful of paper ashes, my mother would drift away.
right, right,
That's just so
right.
beautiful language there.
It is. It is.
So I was very impressed by this
Yeah,
poem.
I don't think that one needs much commentary. It's just in a way, it's a little bit about uh, the infinite difference between the earth and the sky. A little bit of that. There was a little bit of
Yes.
Robert Frost feeling, feeling, perception in there too. But it's so moving, and it emotionally builds up as well as it has a narrative,
Mhm.
that works really
And that question,
beautifully.
whose ghosts are you? And then the clothes, working with the clothes, that little foreshadowing there is so powerful.
Right, 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 right. A child's question and the grief of a lost mother. Yes, I mean, just yes, very well done, beautifully done. And I'm inspired to go look her up. Really, what a storyteller in verse too. Wow.
Hmm.
All right, what's next, pal?
The Great Blue Heron, and this one's by T. Allen Broughton. Um, and this is another take on the Great Blue Heron. I found a lot of poems about herons. In fact, I was thinking about when I get through colors, maybe doing birds, because people should write about birds.
Right, 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 right. Okay. Well, this is a different one on.
But also on the Poetry Foundation. And this is called Great Blue Heron.
All right, go. Why don't you read this one?
I drive past him each day in the swamp where he stands on one leg, conscious of dreaming of his own form the surface reflects. Often I forget to turn left, buy fish and wine, be home in time to cook and chill. Today, the bird stays with me, as if I am moving through the heron's dream to share his sky or water. Places he will rise into slow flapping winds, or where his long bill darts to catch unwary frogs. I've seen his slate blue feathers lift him as dangling legs fold back. I've seen him fly through the dying sun and out again, entering night, entering my own sleep. I only know this bird by a name we've wrapped him in, and when I stand on my porch, fish in the broiler, wineglass sweating against my palm, glint of sailboats tacking home on dusky waters. I try to imagine him slowly descending to his nest, wise as he was or ever will be, filling each moment with that moment's act or silence as the evening folds itself around me.
Yeah. Um, all right. Well, tell me what you like about that one.
I like the description of the bird. I like the idea of the way you see something and then you think you go on with your day, but it stays with you, you know. And you keep thinking about it, keeps coming back even into your dreams, you know. Today the bird stays with me as if I am moving through the heron's dream to share a sky or water. I thought that was a beautiful conceit right there.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know, you could share something with a bird and you can't. So you see the bird, but you know, and you think you leave it, but except you never do. It comes back to you. And he concedes that he doesn't know much about the bird, just the name that you've given it. Um, but you know, he tries to imagine him. He's still with him, descending to his nest, wise as he was or ever will be, filling each moment with that moment's act or silence, and the evening folds itself around me. So I
Well,
thought,
yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean, except that at the last phrase there from, I try to imagine him slowly descending to his nest. I keep imagining that the author is indulging in a Maxwell Parrish fantasy of some sort.
yes,
I'm sorry, and it's somehow, um, I can remember when I was young, thinking that I really liked Maxwell Parrish paintings because they reminded me of, epic of the end of an epic story where whatever magnificent contest you were in, you had lost, but somehow behaved honorably nonetheless. And so but it's kind of, you're sitting at the end of the ruins of civilization, waiting to be saved or doomed with, the last man on the planet type thing, one of those things. And so I always wonder about sometimes about the when I'm with a poem like this or a narrative like this or even a painting like that has a similar kind of feel to it, and I'm being I'm being said, well, don't worry about the fact that the sky is falling. Just enjoy it. It's gonna be beautiful for about a half hour. So
you know Maxwell Parrish Haverford, and they actually have his chemistry notebook on display in the library because instead of taking his chemistry notes, he has this marginalia of elves and various little mythical creatures
which
all around his chemistry notebook. So it's on display in the
I didn't
library.
know that. Anyway, but that's what the
Haverford didn't take for him.
I say. I don't know. I just said, but the last part of that poem is sort of, I had a Maxwell Parrish moment there, but I
Yes.
say. All right. So, okay. Well, what about another blue? Do we have any other blues?
This last poem we're going to close out on because I've done some heavier poems today, and we've had blues as blues and depression, and blues as blues and death. Is a short little thing by Shel Silverstein, who was noted for his poems for children. And this poem is very short, the language is very plain, very simple, but it has a really powerful message. And it's called Masks, and the title is very important. So remember the title.
Masks. Okay. Yes, right. Yes.
By Shel Silverstein. She had blue skin, and so did he. He kept it hid, and so did she. They searched for blue their whole life through, then passed right by and never knew. So
I
it's a
know. That's very nice. That's very nice. Yes,
very
right.
deceptively simple little poem, but you know,
Right.
if you hide something and then you're looking for it, you could walk right by and never know. She had blue skin, and so did he. He kept it hid, and so
That
did she.
That's like, a poem that could have been titled very similar, she passed for white and so did he,
Hmm.
you know, and you can go.
Yes.
It's just, yeah, it's very clever. Yeah. I thought Shel Silverstein's, verses in the 60s and I guess mostly 60s or a little earlier too, uh, were one of the sharpest, commentaries on race and kind of hypocrisies of some of the 50s culture. Um, of anybody writing at the time, and he was sort of doing the kind of things that Bob Dylan did later, but he did it earlier, and had a kind of similar, stand outside the whole thing and talk about it like it was normal when it didn't really look normal at all. So I always liked that about him, you know. I noticed that, matter of fact, speaking of that, I think Bob on one of his second album, put a big long verse from Shel Silverstein on it. So yeah.
I thought that was an appropriate close for today.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Let's read it again. She had blue skin, and so did he. He kept it hid, and so did she. They searched for blue their whole life through, then passed right by and never knew. Yes, I know. I had blue skin, and so did you. Anyway, all right. Well, this is wonderful. I just love the blue poems, Janet. And if you go to, you think you might go to another color, or now you're
It's
considering
right
whether?
next week.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
There are a lot more poems about red than there are about blue. I was surprised. A lot of poets write about red.
Right. 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 Because we're red. All right. That sounds good. All right, my dear. Well, thank you guys very much for tuning in to our poetry show today. Keep in mind that you can pick up the poetry show when I turn it into a web page, edit it on podcast.enlightenradio.org. That's podcasts.enlightenradio.org. Take care of each other. It's late, but everything comes next.